I'll go ahead and get started. So we'll just first start by just unpacking some successes. So of course we had a rigor walk today, and I just wanted to shout you out because Kay is just doing like so much better. Her classroom culture is better, and I know Cordella's been coaching her, but I also think it's just part of that has come from your the teach backs in O3s that you're having with her. It's
Right.
helped her to execute lessons at a much higher level, and I think students are more engaged because they're learning more because like now she's more confident in her delivery and knows what she's talking about in her delivery. So the students are doing better. Also, just her quiz data has continued to improve, like, and it's been holding pretty steady, especially when she was doing the last couple of weeks, and it's just like dramatic improvement. And I know you even made some shifts to make sure that Yale does the same. And just the third grade team's data is continuing to do well, as well as fourth grade. I mean, Maya's like getting 80-something%.
I know.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And when you go in her room and see her teaching, like, she was good at the beginning of the year getting those numbers, but like, if you actually go and see her teach now, like, it's actually just like really actually video it and teach because she's doing a really good job of just like monitoring students' work, turning top to whole man, like she's just like really shining. So like thanks for all the work you've done with her. Appreciate it. So just to dive in, I did want to check, like, you sent me your nightly schedule. I just want to make sure that all those things, like, is it working out well? Because I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm like ahead because I haven't, this is my one this week. I'm kind of waiting to hear back because the plans haven't, or the blueprint hasn't been generated for Unit 5. So I'm at like, I'm like done with Unit 4.
Okay.
So, yeah, so Wednesday I'm going to look at objectives for Unit 5, but I'm hoping by Friday she'll have the templates generated. That way I can start plans.
And you're sticking to the nights where it says no work?
I have so far.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's only been like, what, 3 weeks? Yeah, I've done the no work on Thursdays. I have so far for Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah, the one night on Thursdays I have been pretty good about that.
Well, that's good. I just want to make sure you're at least sticking to your no work.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, I'm just waiting for those. I'm going to email her about the templates. I don't know if it'll happen because she's out of town, I know, but we'll see.
All right. Well, so just diving into the data meeting that you recorded, so thanks for recording it.
Of course.
So I watched you unpack standards with Kay, and I think you did a very good job of effectively unpacking the standards with her, and then you actually went back and linked what you wanted to see in the exemplar to the standards that you unpacked. So it wasn't just like unpacking in isolation, but it was like unpacking for a purpose, and I can see this, like in the exemplar, like reflects the rigor of the standard, and like showing her how, because that just helps her more understand the math.
Right.
And you had ideal responses ready for her so that you could share during the meeting. Like anytime you asked her a question, like if she didn't answer like all the way right, you already had an ideal response in your head. Or did you like, you might have one.
No, I didn't. Yeah, they're on my notes.
to make sure that she, you got her all the way there with ideal responses for student work. And then when she practiced, you stopped her at the point of error, and you modeled and had her do it again. So I thought that was effective to not let like misunderstanding.
Yeah.
So I appreciated all of that for your meeting. So just like narrowing the focus and thinking about the things we've been working on. We'll see how y'all teach with doors open all the time.
I try to leave it open, like, so that people know it's like an inviting environment. Come on in. But I guess I'm so loud when I'm teaching, like, people just close my door while I'm teaching.
We can't hear you.
Yeah.
So just thinking about Kay's previous action steps regarding student questioning, prompting, especially during the teacher model.
Yeah.
What would you ideally want to see when we go into her classroom? Just thinking about the things you're working on.
Well, ideally, I want her to be able to teach the lesson without, like, relying on the plan, right? Like, I want her to ideally be able to, like, internalize it enough so that she conceptually understands the standards, so that way, like if she didn't ask the exact turn and talk question that was maybe not in the plan, but she could have asked it in a way that like is understanding for her, right? And it still gets the same like response. You're still like looking for the same response. So like ideally I would like her to be able to teach it comfortably, because like you said, the kids will respond to it better if she's like obviously understands it. And then I would want her ideally to make sure that when she is asking for answers back, like when she's asking scholars like cold call, or even asking like for the answers around turn-in talks, that she's consistently like probing. Because I think she like starts out really strong in the hook as like probing them the why or the how, but then it like filters down from the I do. She doesn't necessarily continue to probe.
Yeah. She doesn't, and that's just something that I wanted to highlight today. So I do agree that like using effective prompts to give students the all the way right answers, and like knowing how to use differentiated prompts, like if an answer is not what you think it should be when a student says something. So I think that's very important. And why is it important for her?
Well, it's not. Well, one, it's important for her because it will help her understand what she's teaching, right? It's also important because she's showing the scholars that she's like waiting for 100%, right? She's not gonna move on until like all of them understand 100% of it, and then they know that then they'll be more required to like give those responses without as many probes.
So because ideally you don't want them to have like that many probes. It takes
Right.
up a lot of time in the lesson.
Right.
And when you have to give that many probes, it shows that students aren't reaching the conceptual understanding. So if she can give the effective prompts and give like 1 or 2 probes, then that increases the conceptual understanding, gets kids to more at-bats with independent work.
Yeah.
So I wanted us to focus on her teacher model again, and her prompts and probing during the teacher model of the data meeting that you practiced with her.
Okay.
Do you have the meeting? Because I still have it on my phone. I can go grab it.
No, I haven't.
And we'll look at the practice portion of her video starting at about minute 10, I think.
Okay. Minute 10.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so
And
we're
you
gonna,
can pause it for a second.
Okay, I'll find it. Okay, pause.
So just thinking back, we'll go ahead and look at it. But
Okay.
as you watch it, I just want you to think about what is the hardest part of the lesson for her to practice. Why was it difficult? And what could you have done differently to help her master the difficult piece?
so then now, we're gonna go ahead and plan for practice. So this is a number story for today, 4.13. So first what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to kind of review and mark up the number story like you would be teaching it. Thinking about those things that I just punched, like effective key, to identify missing information, effective sentence starters to help figure out what information they're asking you to answer, and then, I'll wait because we're writing it down. And then like using context clues as well to like identify the correct operation to solve. So I'll give you 2 minutes on the clock, I'll watch the time there, to do that. And then while you're doing that, think of like 2 to 3 probing conceptual questions you can ask, like, to help hit these. Okay. Okay, perfect. So now, you're gonna go ahead and like teach the number story to me, and then I'll give you feedback, and then we'll redo the section that I give you feedback on. So like teach it like you're actually gonna teach the problem. Okay. All right, scholars, let's go ahead and track the board when you're ready to get started with our number stories. First thing first, we know we're trying to write our mole at the top corner because we want to be able to effectively mark up our problem and get out our correct information. So first we're going to mark up. Ms. Howard's going to read. Please follow along and mark your paper up as Ms. Howard is marking hers up. Yolanda wants, Ms. Howard's putting the box about once because that's what Yolanda wants to know how much her water bottle and her basketball weigh together. She knows that she knows that her basketball weighs 185 grams. So how it's going to circle 185 and put the squiggly line under grams. She weighs her water bottle on a scale shown below. First, scholars, what we need to do is go ahead and mark up our scale. So first thing we're going to do is start at 0. Scholars, if we start at 0, we don't know the next number, but we do know what? 20. Yes. So from 0 to 20, we know that there's a missing number in between, but we need to figure out what that missing number is. So scholars, as I look, I notice that they are skip counting by tens. So if they're skip counting by tens, scholars, what would be the missing number if you're skip counting by tens? 10. Ms. Howard, how do you know they're skip counting by tens? I know that they're skip counting by tens because you're fine. As I look at the next number I see is 10 or 20, 40. I know this cannot be 5 because if this was 5, then somehow. Let me help you. Yep, you're doing good. So you know that it's 20 because of two things. One, all of these are multiples of 10.
Yeah, I saw.
Right? You know that this is going to be 20 and this is going to be 30.
You didn't realize that. Okay. It's hard not to take over sometimes. Okay.
So what was the hardest part for her to practice? Why do you think it was difficult?
When I gave her a probing question of like why, because there's a kid that will say that in the room.
Yeah.
She couldn't. She hadn't internalized it enough to figure out like why it was skip counting by tens. Like she hadn't internalized the actual like plan or the actual number story enough to like plan out for that question, right? To be able to explain the scale more effectively.
Because that's a question she actually should have asked the class.
Right.
Instead of like.
And that's why I asked her that, just because I knew that if she didn't ask a class, that there would be at least one kid that might say it. Yeah.
A kid may say it, or it may show up as a misconception on their work.
Right.
That may not have been if she had told
Right.
around it.
Yeah. And so then when I think she knew why it was skip counting by tens. Like she knew they're obviously all multiples of 10, but like she hadn't internalized it enough to like make it more kid friendly, right?
Yeah. So I think you're right. So I think it was difficult because she hadn't internalized it effectively. Since she hadn't internalized it, she wasn't able. You did ask her to think of 2 to 3 probes, but she hadn't really internalized it effectively. So she wasn't able to think of those probes like in the moment and wasn't able to explain it to students. What do you think you could have done differently just to help her master that one part of like thinking about the probes better and executing them better?
Probably told her like, hey, our practice portion is gonna be on number stories tomorrow. Like, take some time to like create an exemplar on your own prior to coming to the meeting. Because it was on the number stories like that what we were teaching that day. Also, I mean, like that's definitely gonna like take care of like the internalization piece. I guess I could have given her more time to internalize it just until she did have actual questions. Like I should have like held out like a kid, you know, like held out for that accountability of like, oh, I asked for like 2 or 3 probes, like make sure they're on the paper, you know.
So I think like you're on the right track. So I think like giving her more time definitely would have helped. But I also think just like in Teach Back, you isolate that practice.
Right.
I think in data meetings, isolating that practice.
Okay.
In the same way. So what does she do well actually?
She does
that
like
you
marking it up. Like she does really well marking it up. She does really well like organizing information into a key to make sure that the kids understand like what was given, what's missing. She does that really well. And then if I was to push her onto like what she should work more on is like you said, figuring out the misconceptions that might happen and then like teaching to that.
Yeah. And that could have, just like you said, you could have given her more time. Like that could have probably cut out maybe three minutes.
Right.
And then could have bought you back 3 minutes.
Yeah.
To be able to do that.